to be present for other people in life. So I'm going to share real quickly a little bit about our speaker on today. I pulled your from your page some information. So I'm just going to share a few nuggets about her on today. So today, our speaker is the co-owner of Strategic Partners Consulting LLC and a corporate veteran with over 2 decades of experience in financial services, business analytics, training facilitation, process development, technical writing, project management, and business consultation. She has an extensive background. She's a graduate of North Carolina Agricultural Technical University, and she also has harnessed the skill of research and intellectual presentation, which has provided a platform to matriculate to Assistant Vice President of Bank of America, NA, and gain experience in leading teams ranging from 10 to 50 associates, developing processes impacting 300 to 500 million in real estate and insurance, and facilitating training for entry and executive level employees in North Carolina, Delaware, New York, Arizona, and California. So she has touched the lives of many people with the expertise that God has given to her, and she is utilizing it effectively in the earth. So I applaud the efforts that she's making. So I'm celebrating favorable outcomes that have already come to her life and the ones that are going to come in the future with her just taking on everything that God has placed in her, because sometimes we hold back and we won't move forward into the places that he's saying for us to go. We won't go into the rooms where he's telling us to go sometimes, but she has stepped up boldly and she's gone into those rooms and sat at the table amongst great men, because the Bible says our gifts will make room for us and bring us before great men. So we can't cower back and not utilize what he's given us to go into some of these rooms. So I present to you all today Miss Faith Thomas. So I'm going to turn it over to her to share with us today. And you can come and share any more details about yourself before you get started and present to us in whatever manner you desire to present.
Good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone. I am so honored and pleased to be with you all this morning, to be with the 3D women, like-minded women who have come together, determined to make space and time for yourself and your personal growth. As Minister Adams mentioned, I am a champion for change. I am a champion for self development. So it is truly a pleasure to be with you all today and to talk about celebrating favorable outcomes. And as you all know, as women, we have a lot on our plate, and we're always moving. There are always challenges that seem to lie ahead, and it's groups like this that allows us to anchor in, to refocus, to reframe things so that you can get the encouragement that you need. Because personal growth and change is not always easy, but with a great group of people, like-minded people, what happens is that you now have the fortitude and you have the support that you need to enjoy the journey. And that's what we want to focus on today. As we are striving for our goals, as we are outlining vision and making steps to move in that direction, what you really want to make sure that you make space and time for in your mind and in your heart is, am I enjoying the journey? And sometimes that can become very hard because as you're moving forward and you're going forward, there are a lot of different things that are tugging at you. So you don't have that opportunity to just celebrate the favorable outcome. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. That's what I want to just share a few nuggets with you all, so that as we leave here, we're going to leave more empowered. We're going to leave here encouraged and ever determined to make sure that we continue on this journey of personal growth and making a difference and impact in our world. All right, are you ladies ready? Okay, well, we're going to start out with two main questions. I always like to get clarity. Whenever I have an opportunity to speak to a group of people, whether I'm training in a corporate session or whether we're in a ministry aspect or events such as this today, I like to get clarity and say, why are we here? What are we talking about? Are we all on the same page? So, two questions that we're going to be answering for you today is, what does it mean to be favorable? What is favorable, right? And why should we take the time to celebrate favorable outcomes? So we're going to get some real good clarity on that. What does it really mean to have a favorable outcome, and why should we celebrate? So let's look at that word favorable. The word favorable actually is defined as something that is positive or promising. And so I was so excited when Minister Adams first started, and she said, so whether you have accomplished some things or you're in the process of accomplishing things, this is what we're here to do. And again, a lot of times it becomes very challenging to really take a moment to stop and to pause, as she mentioned, to really look back and say, what are the things that I have been allowed to do? What are the things that I've had the opportunity to take a part in, to get started, to initiate, to be a catalyst, to be a support? What are those things that I've been used in, my gifts, my talents, my resources, that has yielded a positive outcome? Right. And then what are those things that I'm doing now? It looks promising. I feel good when I'm moving in that direction. And I understand that I may not have the full realization of my goal today. I may not have the full realization of success, but I am moving steadily towards it. And so that means we can look at those situations as this situation is promising. And therefore, we have enough energy and enough uh, something to surround us to actually energize us to be able to move forward and make sure that we take that time to pat ourselves on the back and say, you know what, this is something favorable, this is something that's positive that's happening, this is something that is promising. So why do we celebrate? Now that we've laid the foundation for what is a favorable outcome, something that is positive, something that is promising, now we need to talk about, why do we celebrate? And so I was doing some research, and I like to do it from all different types of perspectives. And I was looking at this article from Psychology Today, and it talked about research that's been done in psychology that says that human beings need to celebrate because it allows us to savor the good things in life, right? And what it does, it actually builds a buffer for ourselves against those rough times. And it's going to help build resilience. So every time we take the opportunity to celebrate what we've done, what we've accomplished, or those micro wins where we're going, that's the promising, right? You didn't get the macro win yet, but you have some small wins. There are milestones that you have hit that is taking you towards your goal, right? And so every time you celebrate that, that is going to then be a buffer and help build against rough times. Because what do we know about life? It rains on the just as well as the unjust, right? There are going to be good days and there are going to be challenging days. And so, since we know that we've all lived long enough, right? We've seen the sunshine and we've seen the rain. But when we take the time to celebrate, to look back and say, that was good, I enjoyed that, I was fulfilled in that moment, or people were blessed by what I was able to offer. What we don't even realize, that psychologically we know that we're all made what? Mind, body, and spirit. So what we're actually doing, we're fortifying our minds and we're fortifying our spirits, that we have the buffer that we need, that when you are found facing challenging times, because as we already talked about, self development is one of those things that you're going to have challenges, right? Growth without change is inevitable, and change sometimes is very hard. And so the goal is, we're going to build resilience. So as we celebrate, right, we get a twofold return. We get to savor that good thing, but then we're also building that buffer, and that's going to help us have resilience and really fortify us when we are facing challenging times. And so, even if it's a mini celebration, right? The psychologist says that what it does, it plumps up our emotions, and it makes it easier for us to manage those daily challenges and then those things that really cause major stress. And I know as part of this group, you guys are working on doing all of the things to diminish your stress as much as possible, to make sure that you are framing things in your life and in your mind, that you can give it proper perspective so that it doesn't become so overwhelming. But again, there are times that we're just going to have those daily little small things that are kind of nitpicking at our minds and nitpicking at our lives. And then you're going to have those things that are major stressors. Some of you all are caring for family members, right? That they may have some type of terminal illness or something that is going on with their health that takes a lot and zaps from you, right? So when you are looking at all of the things that can come that can cause major stress, it is your responsibility to say, how am I going to handle those things that are just going to happen daily, like being in traffic. That's a daily challenge. It can be stressful, but then those are those huge life moments that can literally almost suck the life out of you. But our goal is we're not going to position ourselves where an event can totally wipe us out, because why? We've been savoring those good things, building that buffer so that we can build the resilience to face life. So that's why we're here, to encourage you that this is why we need to celebrate. Now that we've talked about what psychology today has to say about why we celebrate, now I want to go to my favorite book, which is the Bible. And the Bible tells us that we need to celebrate. It is God's design that we celebrate all that He has given us, all that is in this life to enjoy, because He made us. Again, He made us mind, He made us body, He made us spirit. And in our human experience, He's already built in that need to be able to celebrate. And guess what? He gave us the perfect blueprint Himself. We are to what? Imitate God. We are His children. And when we imitate Him, we're able to get the best results. So let's talk about, what do I mean about it's God's design and we are to imitate the blueprint that He has given us for why we should celebrate. And that takes us right into Genesis chapter 1. Genesis is the beginning of everything. It lays the foundation for mankind. Any question, almost every question that you have in life, you can find it in the books of Genesis. And right in the chapter 1, Genesis chapter 1, as God is describing creation and how it came about, if you notice, 7 different times He said it was good. And when you do a little research on that, when it says, let there be light, and it was good. And He said, let the waters divide from the sky, and it was good. And let there be plants and growing things and seed, reproducing after itself. And then He put the sun, the moon, and the stars. Then He created what? The fish in the sea and all of the creatures and the birds of the air. And then He created land animals. And then He created man. And all throughout this chapter, 7 different times He says, and it is good. And in the research, what you'll find out is that word good means God stood back and He observed what He had done. And what did He do? He savored the moment, because we see it was, and the evening and it was the morning and the evening, and that was a day. So, how do we carve out 7 days? God Himself is showing us that although He is all powerful, He is omnipotent, He can do anything. He literally could have created the world and us in one day. He could have just spoken it and it would all appear and it would have all been done. And some people even believe in that, what, the Big Bang Theory, right? I'm sure you guys have heard that, somewhere either in your studies, your university, or as your children have matriculated through school, what it talks about. There was a Big Bang Theory. But no, we believe that by God's design, He's showing us that He segmented time to provide us with a blueprint, that as you are building something, as you are working towards something, as you are arriving to your ultimate goal, you want to break it down into milestones. And as you look at each piece, stand back and observe. take a moment and acknowledge that was good. It's a practice that my husband and I have since this revelation came to us about God's design and being able to pause and appreciate what's been done. So sometimes at the end of the day, if we've really been running around all day, we've had a lot going on, but we feel really good, we feel accomplished, and we'll look at each other and say, and that was good. And that is our way to imitate our Father and say, in His Word, He always provides answers. In His Word, He is always explaining to us, this is how I designed you. This is what you were best made for. This is how you become that better version of yourself. Emulate me. But part of that, me helping you to build resilience, part of that in me and God showing us how we need to withstand hard times and tough times that will come, right? Jesus even told the people, He said, you're going to face tribulation, problems and challenges are going to come. So that is emphatic. We know that there's no way around it. But what God has done is provided the perfect blueprint to say, as you go about life, whether it is you've completed a goal, right? It's a positive outcome, or you're moving towards it is a promising outcome. I need you to really be intentional. Take time and take space to stand back and say, and that was good, right? So what I love about the Word of God, a lot of times people think they're coming up with something new or something nuanced, but the Bible in Genesis chapter 1, that is the original mindfulness. I'm sure you guys have heard of this term. You hear it in so many different spaces and places. Some of you may have heard of it as called being in the moment. People say, make sure that you're being in the moment, make sure that you're present, make sure that you're being mindful. And so the practice of mindfulness is to say that I'm being fully present and I'm aware of my current experience without overreacting or allowing all of these thoughts to just kind of overwhelm and bombard you. And I don't know about you all, but I generally have about 20 to 35 different things running through my mind all of the time. And so sometimes I find myself being guilty. My daughter, she may be trying to show me something or say, Mom, look at what I did. And because my mind is in 1,000 places, I'm listening to her. I'm calling myself, giving her some attention to what she's saying. But there are all of these thoughts that are bombarding me, and I'm not fully present in enjoying what she's trying to share with me, the time that she's trying to spend with me. So I have to be reminded that yes, although there is a art and a practice that our society calls mindfulness, the Word of God has already shown it to us, and it calls it being grateful, being thankful, standing back and being able to say that something was good and really absorbing the moment and not moving on to the next thing. Because particularly living in the Western world, everything is instantaneous, right? Everything is fast moving, everything is fast paced. So we're just going from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. And our society has breeded an environment where there isn't a lot of rest. Because even when we're trying to rest, then what? We're striving to rest. So then we're, doing all of the things, we're doing all of the planning. And sometimes before you can even get on the vacation, you're so stressed out because the whole time preparing for the vacation, right? You had so many different things to do, and then you get on the vacation, and then you're trying to do all of the activities, and you're trying to figure out, well, is this going to be fun, and is that going to be fun? And so at the end of the day, you arrive back home from your vacation, and you still find yourself depleted and tired and unfulfilled. Why? Because we really haven't learned the art, the practice of mindfulness, the practice of being grateful, really being imitators of our Creator, the Father above, that says, children, my daughters, I need you to pause and appreciate everything that is around you. There's a time for everything, Ecclesiastes says, right? So there's a time to be busy, there's a time to be on the move, and then there's a time that we have to be intentional, that we're saying, I'm going to take a moment to reflect. I'm going to take a moment to really absorb what's happening right now, right in this moment, right in this second, and I'm going to learn how to what? Be aware of the current experience I'm having so that I can savor it. Now I want to talk a little bit about what are some enemies of celebrating favorable moments, because we have to be aware of what we're up against, right? So a lot of the things that I'm sharing, I'm sure you all have heard it in some form or fashion before, but a lot of times we don't make a strategy of being able to first recognize what are those things that are stealing from me? What are those enemies that are coming in that is causing me not to really celebrate, not to be mindful, not to pause and appreciate the things that are going well in my life? So the first thing I want to talk about is comparisons, right? Some of us know this as jealousy, envy, the grass always looking greener on the other side. We have to be careful of this, especially in this society where social media is at the tip of our fingers, right? At any point, you can go on social media and you can scroll through and you can see what people are doing in their lives, what they're celebrating, what they've accomplished, what they've acquired. And so a lot of times what steals from us being able to be present, for us to be grateful for our situation and our circumstances and where we are in life, we are comparing. I like to share a quick story with you guys. My son is 21. He'll be 22 in November. And so this is many, many years ago that I experienced this. But when he was around 2 years old, I was attending a Bible study class, and it was an intense leadership Bible study class. And it happened every Wednesday night. And we had these manuals that we had to read and books that we were going through. So we had homework so you would be prepared for the discussion. And he was my firstborn that I actually biologically had. And so I'm a new mom and I'm working. Now, mind you, the model of mother that I had, my mom was a stay at home mom. So I'm trying to emulate all of the things that I'm seeing my stay at home mom do, plus incorporate it into being a working mom, which is a model that I really didn't have a lot of up close and personal encounters with. And so I remember going every Wednesday night, I would go, and it seems like I would forget something. I would forget his wipes, or I would forget his juice bottle, or I would forget that he needed an extra change of clothes. And so I'm always, rushing in from work. I've got my homework, but I'm rushing and the baby bag isn't fully packed. And I didn't get the dinner on the table quite like I wanted it before we were out of the door. And so I was observing this young woman, and she always seems like she had it together. She had a 2 year old herself, and she was also pregnant, and she would come in with her baby bag. She'd have snacks for her son, the juice. I mean, normally that's who I was going to borrow if I forgot something for my son. I was going to her to say, "Hey, you got an extra wipe? You got an extra pamper? I forgot to pack this. I forgot to pack that." And I so envied her. And I would just watch her and say, "Man, I wish I could be as organized as her. Oh my God, I wish I could just be like her." And so one Sunday morning, the pastor opens up the service for people to give a testimony. And this young lady goes up and she begins to cry. She begins to weep, I should say. This went beyond crying. She began to weep. And she began to share how she wanted to take her own life. She was in a situation where her husband was actually cheating on her. She had these two children. She wasn't really sure what to do or what her next steps were going to be. And what she was sharing with the congregation is that the thought as she was driving to church was to run her car into a tree and just end it all. And that literally, of course, broke my heart, as it would any person that is hearing this horrific story. But I also was convicted, because here was I, a person that was literally envying this woman's life, a life that I knew nothing about. All I saw was that she was showing up every Wednesday. She had her homework. She was being engaged. She was fully prepared to take care of her son. She's pregnant. She's carrying another life. She's still looking great. Her hair looks good. Her makeup looks good. And I'm just looking at what? The outside. But we never really know what is happening in someone's life. And not that we hope that someone is having devastation, but it really just brings perspective that we cannot compare our lives and where we are and what we have with other people, because comparison is an enemy for us to be able to enjoy where we are. And what I should have been doing is say, God, I thank you there's someone here with an extra pamper. God, I thank you that I made it here, and I have a heart and a desire to pursue you, and I'm taking this leadership class because I want to know more about you, and I want to be in places that's saturated with your presence so that I can learn how to practice your presence and how to delve more into your word. That's where my mind should have been, rather than comparing myself with someone else that I really had very little information about their intimate life. So that's one particular enemy that will steal from us celebrating our favorable moments, is comparison. Another thing I want to talk about is big success. I believe, again, in a Western society, we're not in environments that generally cultivate celebrating the micro wins. It's always about, are you doing it big? Are you doing it grand? Is it awesome enough? Is it Facebook worthy to post? Is it an Instagram moment? These are all of the things that we can become fixated with. And if we don't think other people will consider it as a big success, then sometimes we won't give it the credit that it is due. And sometimes we need to do that. If you've been having a challenge getting to work on time, then that day that you actually arrive on time, ready to move forward and to do what you need to do, celebrate yourself. You say, you know what? I did it. I've been late. I've changed some things around. I've now determined that I'm going to be in the spaces and places. I noticed that was in you all's affirmation, to be on time, right? So now what? We have to celebrate that. It may not be big to anyone else, but it's big to us. And so again, it gets back to that blueprint of, as you are going through life, don't wait for the big moment. God did not wait until he made man to say it was good. He didn't wait until he got to the end of all of his creation. He celebrated as he went. He's showing us, look at it, say it's good, savor the moment, because when you get to the final completion of it, you'll have all of the smaller satisfactions, right? Savoring that moment, it's going to build up to really allow you to appreciate the big moment, because you can look back and say, this is what day one looked like. This is what day two looked like. Day three, four, five, six, seven. And now I'm able to have big success, but I'm not waiting for that big, powerful, successful moment. I'm learning how to enjoy my everyday life. Now, you all may be wondering why you are looking at a screen of dirty dishes. Because if any of you are like me, I hate to wash dishes. I think the dishwasher is the best invention that's ever one of the best inventions that's ever come around. And even with that, sometimes I don't even like to, get everything ready to put it in the dishwasher. But what, we have that convenience. The reason why I have this up here, because there is a country song that I love. He's a North Carolinian. I don't know if you all remember him. I believe he was on American Idol. It was either American Idol or The Voice. And his name is Scotty McCleary. And he wrote this song called Dirty Dishes. And what he does, as you guys know, country songs, they tell stories. So he's telling the story of a family that's about to sit down for dinner. So mom is calling the kids in, wash your hands, come to the table. We're about to have dinner. And so once everyone gets settled, they're about to dig into the food. And then if dad, of course, cautions them and said, no, we need to say grace. So mom, I want you to say grace. And I want you guys to look at the screen, because I put the lyrics of the song as to what the mother said in her prayer. The mama prayed the strangest prayer, the song says, that the son had ever heard. The son is telling the story in this country song. He said, Mama said, I want to thank you, Lord, for noisy children and slamming doors, for scattered clothes all over the floor, a husband working all the time, a never ending messy kitchen, and dirty dishes. And so in the song, it says the daddy actually looks up and says, "Hun, are you all right?" Because he was like, "This is a strange prayer. You're thanking the Lord for noisy children, slamming doors, clothes on the floor, and dirty dishes." He probably thought she was having a mental breakdown, right? Like, oh, she's really had enough of these kids today. I got to make sure that my wife is all right. But this is what the mom's response was. She said, "Noisy children mean that there are happy kids. Slamming doors mean that they live in a warm and loving home." And she told the husband, "Your long hours and the dishes in the sink means there is a job and enough to eat." And I'm just pausing there because I get a little emotional every time I hear this song and every time I hear this part, because it shows we can be grateful and we can celebrate the smallest wins, and that we don't need to get caught up in the noise of society. We don't need to get caught up in the rhetoric of what's happening on social media. But we really need to understand that we were created to enjoy this life, and we were created with purpose, and we were created to be able to give and to live and to let live. But if we only allow for other people to dictate to us what we should consider worthy of praise, we're going to miss out on a lot. We're going to find ourselves 10, 20, 30 years working towards things. And then when it's at the end of our life, when it's time for us to transition on, can we really say that we enjoyed the journey? I want to encourage all of you in the 3D women, all of you that come on a consistent basis, to make sure that you are in a place that will encourage you to become your full self, your best version, that you remember at all times, and that you remind each other, because sometimes we have to remind each other as women. Celebrate that. Don't just gloss over that. Take time to say, yes, I did that. Yes, we did that. Yes, we were a part of that. That's something that's worthy to be celebrated. And I hope that the next time you have a sink full of dirty dishes, and the next time there's a lot of chaos going on in your life, that you will think of this song and say, if I have dirty dishes, that means what? I have plenty to eat. So, with that being said, I want to talk about how do we make sure that we are practicing mindfulness? How do we follow the blueprint of Genesis 1? And something that I came across a couple of years ago, in my own self development and personal growth journey, is a concept by a lady named Marcia Weeder. It's called the Passion Pyramid. And you can look up Marcia in your own time, but she is a renowned international speaker. She's written over a dozen books. She's counseled college presidents and U.S. presidents. And she is the founder of Dream University. So she is well qualified to be able to help people and speak on how do you have a fulfilled life, and how are you going to be able to, well, this is not a perspective that she shares, but I use her pyramid in order to help myself and other people that we have the opportunity to share with. How do you remain mindful? How do you remain grateful? So, in the passion pyramid, there are literally 4 levels. First is understanding your purpose. And I know whenever we're in groups like this and people throw out know your purpose, it can seem like a lot and it can be super overwhelming. But one of the things I want to encourage you all of is that most of the time we have multiple purposes. There's not just one purpose, ultimate purpose in life, right? But what it does is that it gives us a foundation that lets us know where we are now and where we're going. Some of you all are in a season that you may be a caretaker. So right now, your major purpose is to make sure that whoever you're taking care of, that they are getting the care that they need. And that's your purpose in that moment. Some of you all are educators and mentors, right? In your different perspectives and what you do, when you're anchoring yourself in purpose, then that helps you really be mindful of moving towards those things that's going to help you be grateful because you understand that it is part of your purpose. It is part of this season that you're in right now. And for those of you that may not really have a surety as far as what your purpose is, what I'd like you to do is think of 3 times in your life where you truly felt fulfilled, where you were involved in something, you were participating in something, or you created something that you fully felt fulfilled. Because generally, it is in that place of passion that we're able to identify our purpose. It's the thing that you can do even if you weren't paid for it. It is the thing that you can be a part of and lose yourself for hours and hours and hours. And so, if you're not solely sure right now that you know what your purpose is, then you can begin the journey of celebrating favorite moments. Because now, what? Now you have a promising outcome where you're going to take the time to reflect and think of 3 significant moments and then find the thread. Find what that thread is that, okay, these were the 3 significant moments, and these are the dots that I see, or as my sister likes to say, the pearls that I can string where it all connects together. And then you'll be able to really identify, okay, I believe this is my purpose because God has designed us to be able to move in our giftings and our talents based on the passions that He's already seeded in us even before we were in our mother's wombs. And then from there on the passion pyramid, as you are identifying purpose, now you can begin to dream. And you can say, what can I do with this talent? What can I do with this gift that I've been blessed with? What can I do with this passion? And you don't want to overthink it. You just want to let your imagination run wild. Because in this stage, you're not thinking about how we're going to make it happen. You're just going to allow yourself to dream as far as the Bible tells us what He can do exceedingly, abundantly, above all that we could ask or think, right? According to the power that's working in us. So sometimes you just have to let your imagination go and dream so that you can see yourself in different phases, in different spaces, in different seasons. One example that I like to use when we talk about dreaming and how it can evolve, um, I look at the framework of Oprah Winfrey and how she started out as a news anchor, right? And then she moved into daytime television talk show. And then she moved into what? Doing some other things that has to do with owning her own television network, right? So as you can see this, it all has to do with communication. So at the end of the day, she believes her purpose is to communicate and to provide information to people. However, it's shown up in different ways in different seasons of her life. So as we dream, just understand, even when you find that common thread in your purpose, allow room for it to be able to grow and to expand and to be able to manifest itself in different ways. But at the end of the day, when you break it down to the root, it still has that common denominator that you see in your purpose. Now, we move on to activities. Once you've allowed yourself to dream and where you want to go and what you want to accomplish and what goals you want to set, now you begin to create a plan, activities that is going to lead you to that moment. For some of us, it means what? We're going to further our education because maybe there is a specific acumen and skill that we have to learn through the academic world in order to get to that place that we want to get to. Or maybe it is, again, starting groups like this where you're encouraging women, where you're making space for people to think and to breathe and to be encouraged and to be supported. So as you begin to move in those veins, whether it's reading a book, participating in a workshop, participating in a class, all of these things are activities, the things that you're going to do with your time, your energy, and your resources. So if you think about your life, what am I doing with my time? What am I doing with my energy? What am I doing with my resources? That is going to sum up the activities of our lives. And at the end of this passion pyramid, you'll see a schedule. So what happens is now your schedule is filling up because it's filling up based on not what everybody else wants you to do, right? Not all of the people that are pulling you into 14 different directions where you're constantly feeling fatigued, overwhelmed, not getting enough sleep, just too much to do, major stress. What happens is because my purpose is leading my dreams then begin to shape my activities, and now my activities shape my schedule. When Minister Adams asked me to join you all today, it was a very easy answer because I learned a long time ago that one of my purposes in life is to share and communicate information. Another level and layer of my purpose specifically has to do with women. So when I looked at my calendar and saw what space and time I had available on this Saturday, it was an easy yes because it already aligns with my purpose. It already aligns with my dreams to always be able to make myself available to speak to people all around the world, internationally and all around the world. So now an activity has shown up on my schedule to be here with you all. Also, Michael and I, my husband and I, every first, third, and fifth Sundays, we conduct a biblical discussion where people can come and share and be encouraged in the Word of God. We do it every first, third, and fifth Sunday at 3 p.m. So, therefore, when someone asks me, can you participate in an event? Can you attend this birthday party? Can you come to this conference? I can look on my calendar and already say what first, third, and fifth Sundays has been set aside for something that is in alignment with my purpose. And this is how you can become protective of your time. This is how you can become protective of your energy. This is how you can make sure that you're on a path that you have an opportunity to celebrate a favorable moment. Because when you look at your activities, what you spent your time doing, what you spent your energy doing, where you spent resources, it's going to be self-fulfilling because it all ties back to our purpose, right? So your schedule really should be reflective of your purpose. If your purpose right now, again, like I said, is raising children, then a lot on your schedule has to do with what? Things for the kids. If you're in a season right now where you and your husband are needing to spend some extra time together, then what? You're going to be putting on that schedule, making time for the husband, right? If you need to make time for yourself, putting that on the schedule too. And again, it is not to be selfish or not to have any type of flexibility, because there are times where someone is going to call you and the Spirit of God will lead you not to be on schedule. But I want to caution everyone, make sure that it is the Spirit of God. Make sure that it is not guilt or obligation or being beholden to any person, place, or thing that causes you to stretch yourself too thin and to put too many things on your schedule. So, as you're reflecting on your life, as you're preparing to celebrate those favorable moments, you want to be able to say, what's on my schedule? Are those activities in alignment with my goals and my dreams? And are my goals and dreams seated, based, founded in my purpose? And if we can do that, if we pursue the passion pyramid, you're going to create multiple opportunities to be able to celebrate your favorable moments. Now, we're about to wrap up, but one thought that I'd like to leave you with of what we don't want to do, let me make sure I make it clear. What we don't want is another to-do list. I've been a part of many types of groups of women, many different church auxiliaries. And when I first started out, they were all fulfilling, they were enjoyable. But then I noticed somewhere down the line, it became just another thing to do. Oh, it's Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, got to join that Zoom meeting. Let me get up here. And our minds and our hearts really aren't prepared to receive what is there, because why? We're just trying to make sure that we keep our commitment and check it off our to-do list. Attended 3D Women? Check, got it done. No, you don't want celebrating to become just another thing to do and say, okay, I'm a part of self development. I know that I have to celebrate myself. And now you begin to stress yourself out on celebrating yourself because then it becomes another to do. And as women, we know we don't need another thing on our to do list. So that means we have to be very intentional to allow this to become organic, to be patient with yourself. If you've never really postured yourself to celebrate yourself, start bringing in some other sisters and say, hey, can you come alongside me and help me with celebrating myself? Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. If you miss celebrating a moment, don't say, oh man, I missed that moment again. Just say, no, I'm going to try to be more mindful. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to put people around me that's going to remind me to celebrate. And that's what we want to posture ourselves in. That as you guys are going through different sessions of personal development, as you're working on making sure that you're not getting stuck and stagnant in life, and that you're moving forward and things are fluid and that they're positive and they're flourishing, that you don't allow the things that's going to help you have a better life become something on a to-do list. So let's wrap up with some tips of how to celebrate positive and promising outcomes. Number one, I'd like to encourage you all to really get clarity on what is refreshing and what refuels you, right? Because it's hard to celebrate if you don't really know what makes you feel good, right? And you don't want to become cliche and just do what everyone else does. Okay, I've accomplished this goal, so I'm going to, go to the best restaurant in town, right? Unless you enjoy fine dining. Now, if fine dining is really refreshing and refueling for you, that is something that you do. But make sure that you don't borrow from someone else's style of celebration, but that you really learn yourself. Does going on a 15-minute walk refresh you? Does taking a 15-minute nap refresh you? Um, does a simple bowl of ice cream, is that something that you feel like is part of your self-care? A 90-minute massage at the spa. Just really be clear on what it is that refreshes and refuels you so that you can make sure that when you notice the moment, that yes, this is something promising. Yes, this is something positive. You notice the moment, then you're going to know how to take action. So if you're going to commemorate that moment with celebration and you're going to take action, after you notice it, you're going to be able to build upon because I know what are those things and then begin to share it with others, right? Share it with those that are in your household and say, hey, I'm working on this. When I get to this point, I'm going to need you guys to help me celebrate. I'm going to need you to clear your calendar because when I hit this milestone, I want to take a nice walk and I want to be able to do it with all of you all, or I want to be able to sit and watch the sunset. And so this is what we're going to do to just take in a moment, or maybe I'm just going to light a candle, right? And I'm just going to sit back and relax and reflect on how great that moment made me feel, right? So as you commemorate and take the action, in order to do that, you have to notice the moment. Next, you got to move out of routine, right? Make sure you set the scene because if you don't move out of routine, it's just going to become another thing on your to-do list. It's time for me to celebrate my favorable moment, my favorable outcome. Okay, so now I'm just going to do what I always do. No, make sure when you take action, you move out of that routine. You set a scene, you find a beautiful place, you find a place that brings you peace. You surround yourself with people that are truly going to celebrate what you have going on because you're being very intentional. And this is the last tip. You have to be intentional until it becomes second nature. So for many of us, it will feel like a to-do list for a while because it's not something that you have a natural proclivity to be able to just celebrate yourself. Particularly as women, we are groomed to celebrate everyone else, to prop everyone else up, to be that support for everyone else. And it's rare that we see those examples where it's like, no, it's okay for you to celebrate you. I was reading an article that talks about how men are more likely to celebrate their workplace accomplishments than women. right? Like they have no problems patting themselves on the back and saying attaboy, right? But we as women, that's not something that society has celebrated. So a lot of times it's not second nature. But if you set your intention that, you know what, until it becomes second nature for me to celebrate, to pause, to appreciate, to stand back and say, and that was good, to observe the greatness of all that God has put in us and what He's doing through us, we're going to just keep practicing and being intentional until it becomes second nature. So I hope you all have learned and gleaned something from today in celebrating favorable moments. Again, it was a complete honor and joy to be here with you today. And I'm so looking forward to all of the great feedback and testimonies that I'll get in the days to come on how you're celebrating yourself and why you're celebrating yourself and how you're encouraging other sisters to celebrate favorable outcomes. Thank you all so much for your time.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that powerful share. I wrote down quite a few notes as I was listening. I was leaning in and I was gleaning from all of this. And I'm going to allow the ladies, if there anyone that had any questions or just wanted to give some feedback, you can come off of mute at this time because it was some great nuggets.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to say I have to run, but I just want to thank you. There was some great nuggets I got, especially about the game of comparison, because we always want to say somebody else is doing, and we don't even know their story. We don't even know what they're going through. But I like when you say celebrate where you are, celebrate the small wins. Oh, I just love this morning. I just love all that you had to share this morning, and thank you so much. But I have to run, guys. But I enjoyed it this morning.
Thank you so much. We
You
appreciate
know.
you. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Thank you.
I wanted to chime in as well. I'm Chandra. Thank you for today's conversation. It really just helped bring some things to light. I think sometimes we do not celebrate ourselves. Sometimes as women, we're going. Yes, we have 100 to-do lists. Okay, I did this. Okay, now on to the next. Like, stop, breathe, like, chill. Like, give yourself some grace to recognize that the Lord has given you grace to run this race, but as you complete each level, like celebrate and be okay where you are. Again, like Vernell said, not to compare yourself. Well, I got to get this master's degree because they got this master's degree. But if that's something in your heart that's aligned with your purpose and God's will for your life, and that's what you feeling you need to attain, then okay, attain it. It was so much, like Sister Tawana said, to glean from. I mean, I was over here like, wow, thank you, God, because I too am in a place and in a season where I'm constantly trying to just be mindful of my purpose and be mindful of what all I'm commissioned to do, who I'm supposed to be, leading, guiding, and assisting in this season. So it was just really a lot of good information. So God bless you. And I took a lot of screenshots. I didn't write a lot of notes, but I took a lot of screenshots so I can just have something to review. But thank you so much for today's talk. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is going to be going out to some more of the ladies that weren't here today in the replay, because there's some people that had some different things going on, graduations and whatnot. So others will be getting this information because this is one that I know I'm going to have to go back. I wrote notes, but there's some more things I'm going to have to go back and rewrite and glean a little bit more from because I know this was talking to me, running at 1,000 miles an hour, doing everything and trying to be there for everybody because, sometimes it's in our nature. We want to be on, I'm a life cheerleader. I don't say I'm a life coach. I'm a life cheerleader. So I'm on the sideline cheering everybody along because I want everybody to make it across the line for whatever it is they're doing. And sometimes we can run so hard cheering other people on, we forget to celebrate what we're doing because we're so busy wanting to cheer. And that's not to say I'm going to stop, but I need to celebrate some of what I'm doing as well, in addition to cheering other people on. So, yes, thank you for all of the details that you shared and even putting things in perspective, because that's what I wrote out in the margin next to when you gave about the enemies of celebrating favorable moments. It's all about perspective. What is our perspective about the things that we're doing and perspective about what we see in somebody else's life? It can look good from the outside, but until you are in their house to see what's going on, you don't know what they're facing. So I don't ever look at other people and say, oh, I, want to have it like them. They have some great things going on. I admire some of the qualities, but I don't know what they had to go through to get to this place or what they're going through secretly. So yes, that's just a reminder for us. Anyone else have anything they wanted to chime in to say? All right. Well, thank you again for the major share. Thank you for being transparent, because you were being transparent about that time. Sometimes it's hard for us to share about places we've been and experiences, but I thank you for your transparency just to help us put things in perspective in our lives. So with that said, I know that you have a timeline that you're trying to get out because y'all are going to be traveling today. And if you're going to have to drop off, I totally understand. There's just a few last things that I'm going to just cover real quick. But I do want you to text me your address so I can put something in the mail for you, just to say I appreciate you. And I hope even as you travel that God will cover you all as you're traveling, that the angels will be all around your vehicle. And even for the assignment that your husband is going on, that God will be with him as he stands up to share in that atmosphere, that lives will be changed as a result of what he's going to share. And even as you have completed this assignment today, that God will pour back into you mightily everything that you have poured out, that he will open more doors for you to go into, that your name will be sent in the wind to fall upon the ears of people that are out there to hear of Faith Thomas, for you to come and share what God has put on the inside of you to share into their lives. In the name of Jesus. Yes, Lord.
Right. I
Glory.
received that. Praise God. Well, ladies, it has been so wonderful to be with you all. Please invite me again to share, and I'd love to participate and listen and be a part of what you all have going on. Like I said, anytime I can be amongst women where there's support, there's encouragement, and people are like minded, then that is the places and spaces that I love to be in. So, you all have a blessed Father's Day weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all again real soon.
Yes, ma'am. Don't forget to send me your address information, okay?
I will do that. Thank you all. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. You have a blessed one
Bye.
as well. All right, ladies, thank you all for showing up today to invest in yourselves. I just want to give a few reminders. Next month, our topic is going to be on success is my new normal. So you do want to be in place for that one. We have Kimberly Winborn will be coming to share with us next month on that. And then just in addition to that, we are coming up on the gala soon. So the gala will be August the 9th at the Doubletree in Durham. So those of you who have not yet gotten your ticket, you do want to make sure you get a ticket to be in attendance for that coming up, because we are going to have a dynamic speaker that's going to come and share and empower our lives. And just great things are going to be taking place for our lives for the remainder of this year, for what God has for us as we are walking in our purpose. So I don't want to prolong the hour. We've already reached 11. So I hope that everyone has an amazing day on the remainder of today until we come together again. And I will be sending out the replay in case you want to lean in and get some more notes on what has been shared on today. So blessings and peace to each and every one of you until we come together again.
Bye-bye.